Hi, welcome back to Work In, Work Out TV. I'm Charles, and today I'm going to be showing you about things you should think about, or things I should have thought about when starting and buying the bits for my home gym. Stick with me in this video. I'm going to show you a few things which I wish I had upgraded or gone for a slightly better option when I first bought them, which would have saved me money and thus will save you money in your fitness journey. Because if you buy something and it's not ideal for any reason, you have to spend some money later. So I'm going to take you through where you have to spend more money later to get maybe the thing that's better or bigger or whatever it may be. So I'm showing this video the bits that I think are worth considering and certainly were relevant to me. Before we get into it, do help me out by dropping a like. That really helps the channel grow, and share it. That helps get the message out to lots of people that could benefit from this information, and also that YouTube algorithm. Leave any comments below, and do subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. Okay, this is in no particular order, and it's not about buying premium products in terms of going for the most expensive thing out there. It's not about that. It's about making sure that you don't make the same sort of mistakes that I made when choosing my gym equipment. So getting straight into it, here we have the absolutely necessary gym mat or yoga mat if you're into yoga. Now the thing is, these are absolutely essential. You've got to have in your gym. However, the issue that I found is the one I went for wasn't as big as I've seen is available, and also not as durable. So the material, I'm not exactly sure what it's made out of. I think it's a rubber, so obviously that's going to give you quite a lot of grip. But what I've got here, I'm not sure if you can see, is as you do work on it, especially if you're putting equipment on it for whatever reason, depending on what you're doing, I've got little chips that I've started to chip away at the rubber as it chips off, and I've had sort of little bits of it lying around the gym. So the tip that I give you there is to go for one that's durable, and basically, the bigger the better, really, because that means you can do more things on the actual mat, and I know some slightly bigger mats are available. So do bear that in mind. Again, these are in no particular order, so I'm just going through them. That was what I thought about mats. Next up, do you recognise this? So it's my foam roller. Again, another great one for recovery after a nice, good workout. The issue that I found with this one is it gives you that rotation where you can have it work on the actual muscle as it moves backwards and forwards, be it your glutes, your hams, your lower back, something like that. But what I found is I probably should have gone for one that had slightly bigger nubs. So this is, again, I think it's some kind of foam on top. I don't think it's quite rubber. And if they were bigger, they'd be able to get a little bit more into the creases in between the muscles to really help work out those knots and help stretch those muscles that you might have. So this one, even though it's fairly smooth, I actually wish I had one that had more protruding nubs to kind of really get in there. So do look out for those. What I'll do is I'll drop a link in the description below at some potential upgrade options that you could look at to avoid making the same mistakes that I made. Next up, so I picked up some flooring. Flooring is pretty essential. You really got to get your flooring in. So this one came in a pack of, I think it was 8, and I got just the one pack. I thought that should be enough, 8 pieces of this. This one is, let's measure it. So that's 17 inches across one way, I mean it's fairly square, and the other way 16.5 inches. The issue I had with this is I wish it was a little bit more hard wearing. That's this particular one. It's made out of a, this one's made out of a foam really, so I think maybe I should have gone for a rubber one. And not only that, the main thing is I didn't buy enough of it. So whether this one was 1 or 2 packs, I can't remember, but there are 8 pieces of a little bit less than half a metre square. So I said in inches, in centimetres, it's about 43 centimetres, you know, going whichever way. But I wish I'd bought more of it, because in my gym, when I lay it down, it doesn't cover enough under some of the equipment that I've got. So actually I should have bought more of this stuff. So if you are looking at a similar dimension piece of flooring, I'd say, you know, get as much of it as you're comfortable with, but you know, don't go too small. You need to get enough to cover the area that you're looking at. So make sure you do your measurements straight away to make sure you order the right amount of flooring. Next up, bands. Yes, we all love them. We love our bands. The issue I had with bands, now, the smaller the band you get, the more versatile it is in terms of, you know, you can do your stretching, you can do your bicep curls and, you know, your rotations to work out the joints and that sort of thing. The issue that I've had, and I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but there's some new bands that are out and they've actually got handles on them, and that makes it a lot easier to work with. So if you look at this one, if I'm doing, say, a bicep curl, what I find is it rotates in my hand. I don't know if you can hear that. And I get that noise and that abrasion in my hand every time I'm using it on certain pulling motions. And actually, if you go for a band with a handle, it's a better grip and you don't get the band moving around in your actual palm as you're using it. So that's a really big tip I can give there. As for the performance of the band, it's absolutely fine in terms of resistance. I've got no problem with that. The only issue I've got is when you're trying to do some of those pulling motions and the band's moving around in the palm of your hand as you try and grip it. It can be a bit annoying and a bit uncomfortable, so perhaps worth upgrading there. Next up, I did a whole video on this one. It's my jump rope or skipper rope. As you can see here, I've started to tie some knots in it to try and get it to work the way I want it to, but this one was cheap. It was the cheapest one I could find, so don't do that. Go for a slightly better option. This one doesn't have a steel core, it doesn't have a lot of weight to the handles, it doesn't have a lot of weight to the rope, so which means as you swing it around, it's actually more work for the skipping rope to get around. I didn't know that, so when I was using it, I thought I was fine. But when I upgraded to a better skipping rope after this one, there was less friction around where the main problem was, which is that this bit here at the end I've tied a knot in used to be up here at the front, but it sheared off because of the friction of the handle going around the rope itself. So the other issue is it not having a steel core. As the rope goes around when you're skipping, there wasn't enough momentum being carried, and that was causing the rope to get caught up in my feet. So it wasn't a very good performance skipping rope. So what I recommend to you is do go for one that's mid-priced at the minimum. If you go for a low-price one, it's just going to fall apart on you, and then you have to go and buy another one. And how often do you want to do that? So go for one that's got a few more features you need. One that's got a good rope to handle joint or socket or ball and socket, as a lot of them are actually. One with some good handles, and one ideally with a steel core because it'll be more durable, and you can actually get that rope rotating a lot more smoothly and quickly, so it doesn't get slowed down. It doesn't slow down in the air, and you're able to jump a lot better. So that's that one. Next up, here we have a dip spell. Now, what I'm happy with, if you like to do dips, what I like about this one is the chain is actually fairly heavy duty, so I can go pretty heavy in terms of my weighted dips. So that's good. What's not so good is as the heavier you go, what I find is this one, it's got quite a sharp edge, it's quite rigid, so there's actually no padding that goes on your lower back as you hang the dips belt around your waist. The issue there is as you go heavier, it actually starts to cut into your lower back, like a blade. It's not that bad, but it's a bit uncomfortable. And one thing you do want when you're strapping 20, 30, 40, however many kgs around your waist is you want it to at least have the weight distributed amongst your back as much as possible. But if you've got a sharp edge like this one does, then that's a problem. Now, it is made out of a sturdy material, and it's woven in quite a way that is very strong. I mean, I'm sure you could probably pull a car with this. It's that strong. But at the same point, you don't want a sharp edge cutting into your lower back. So if you're going to get a dips belt, yes, get one with a heavy duty chain if you're going heavy like I do, but try and get one with padding. Otherwise, you're going to have to start looking for retro options like, I don't know, getting a sponge or something, or a towel to put in between the belt and your back to make sure it's not cutting into your back and causing you discomfort. So do keep that in mind when you're getting your dips belt. Next up, and finally, is your bars. I don't know if you can see this very well. So this here is a standard bar. I don't think you really get the same issue that I'm about to tell you about with an Olympic bar. But basically, you probably won't be able to see, but I'll tell you, this bar is actually hollow. So when I originally bought this bar, I didn't know it was hollow. The knurling is quite faint. You can't really feel much grip there. But the real issue is the fact that it's hollow. And with this one, it wasn't that great. You actually had to put it together with a pin. And that's how it came, with a pin to sort of hold the two parts together. Now, that's not good because, again, if you're going heavy, this is going to have a weight restriction on it. So you can only put so much weight. So I upgraded to a solid bar in the background here. And that one, I can put as much as I can push. And I'm sure it can take a lot more. Whereas this one, if you're going to be using it, for example, for deadlifts where you can go really heavy, it's not going to be a good option. If anything, it could break or splinter and you could do yourself an injury. So if you're buying a bar, make sure that it's solid, because not all the bars out there are solid. Some of them, like this one, are hollow. Now, if you're buying online, you do really got to look at maybe the reviews and the descriptions to make sure it's not hollow, because you can't tell and you can't do the knocking test when you're viewing it online. So do make sure you do your research. But if you're going light, maybe a hollow bar is fine for you. But if you're trying to go heavy, then you don't want to put yourself in a position where you could compromise the integrity of the equipment that you're using. So make sure you go for a good quality bar. Right, so that was the equipment. If you like the content, do drop a like, it does help. Do share, do subscribe, do ring the bell for notifications, so that next time new content comes out, you'll be the first one to know about it. Just to recap, on your gym equipment, do make sure it's a considered purchase, and do your research, do read the reviews, and do make sure that you buy quality, not necessarily premium, because some people, you're doing it on a budget. I had to do my gym on a budget. I don't have an unlimited budget or unlimited space, hence why you don't see a big rack, because I don't have space for that. But if you make the right considerations, then you don't have to go back and be constantly upgrading. You can buy something, you can use it for a long time, and it's really going to benefit you and save you money as well. Thanks for joining me. I do appreciate it. Do check me out on Instagram on Working Workout TV. That's Working Workout TV on Instagram. And you can see some really interesting content there as well. And I'll see you next time.